Yo, what's going on, guys? And welcome to another episode of Our Shared Experience. Today, I'm going to jump into one of the biggest questions I get asked about parkour stuff, but I think the subject itself is probably more applicable to life, career, entrepreneurship, and just stepping into the most evolved state of you. And the subject that I want to talk about is dun dun dun, fear. How do you deal with fear? How do you get over fear? What is the deal with fear? Why is it kick our ass always and pop up in the weirdest places? So let's get into it. I think first we need to understand, like, where does fear come from? I personally have spent a decent amount of time looking into fear because I wanted to do a tutorial on it. I wanted to be able to help people when they say, how do you get over the fear of doing a front flip? How do you get over the fear of doing this? So I tried to identify what is fear and where does it come from. And I think the thing that I really resonated with was this idea that fear comes from the lack of understanding. Let that sink in. Fear comes from the lack of understanding. What the heck does that mean? Well, in different subjects, it means many different things, right? I think a lot of people, I always use this example, some people don't really relate to this, but I think it's one of those ones for me that is like, yeah, it makes sense. So why would you be afraid of spiders, right? Spiders, they're weird, they're creepy, sure, that could be your reason, but I think the real fear for a lot of people comes from the idea that there are like thousands of species of spiders and we don't know which spider is on us, right? It could be a deadly poisonous spider that could bite you and kill you, or bite your hand and paralyze you and have skin fall off, and like all of a sudden you're like, Jesus, spiders are terrible. But most spiders aren't dangerous to you. But the fear, the lack of understanding, the lack of knowledge to know which spider might crawl on you, or if you see something in the corner, if that's a dangerous one or not, that is going to create fear around it because now we don't know what we're dealing with. And let's step out of the weird creepiness for a little bit and step into the life part of it, right? Like, you know, I could break down movement and we can say like, all right, well, how do you get over the fear of doing a backflip? Well, first break down how to do a backflip, work the progressions, right? Most people are afraid to do a backflip because they have no idea if they're even capable of it. So a lot of the times where we start is we start at the end of it. And this could be something that you could apply to many things in your life, but we start at the very end, and usually I'll, you know, if we're in the gym or something, I'll set up a block, I'll have someone lay on it, and I'll just kind of have them roll over their back onto their feet. Boom. So now, or actually, I guess you could even start on the ground, right, doing back rolls. So it's this feeling. First, it's like, how do I have to get over my head? How does that feel to go upside down over my head? On the ground, you're really not going to get hurt because you're just rolling unless you pull a muscle or something like that. But so you start there, and then you go up high, and you have them roll off a block backwards, and now they're getting the feeling of falling to their feet a little bit. And then you can progress that into how you jump. How do you get that height? How do you jump up onto a block and then just land on your back so that you start to feel that snap of it all? And then besides that, now you've figured out, okay, I got all the progressions. I know that I can do it, but I'm still very afraid. Well, you're afraid because you don't know how it feels to fall. And learning how to fail, practicing failing and falling and making mistakes and being okay with that is going to be the biggest tool you can use to get over fear. So, you know, there's an incredible parkour athlete and free runner named Pasha the Boss on Instagram. Now he's got over 1 million followers. He's an incredible guy. But it's been really interesting because his whole career, he's kind of played with falling as part of what he does. Even competitively, he would mix in the stylistic versions of falling and rolling, and you never knew if it was on purpose or not, which ended up helping him dramatically in like a competitive standpoint because judges couldn't be like, that was a fall, because he fell with such style that you were like, I think that was on purpose. And it usually was. But I'm going with that because you look at someone like Pasha who does all these falls and fails and is purposely hitting the ground in very unique ways, and he's become so comfortable with it that now his skill level is like skyrocketing. He's doing the craziest stuff because he is not afraid of it going wrong because he's practiced falling so much. So the art of falling, if you're interested in sort of the martial arts style, is actually called ukemi. And you can look it up, and there's all these different ways that you can practice falling in over 360 degrees, rolling this way and that way and that way and this way. And it comes from a martial arts background. So that's a really fun subject if you're interested in movement to look into, ukemi. So going back to the backflip, if you started practicing like what it feels like to like jump over yourself sideways to your left and like land on your knees and then roll out, or jump this way and roll on your knees and land out, and then you practiced all this falling, all of a sudden going for it isn't going to be that scary because now you know, all right, if I go up, even if you practice going up and doing flatbacks and break falls, which is when you slap your hands on the ground or put a foot down as you're landing on your back to sort of save the impact, which is something we practice all the time as stuntmen in the industry, you would not then fear the backflip as much because you now know how to fail, fall, and be safe. So taking it out of movement and into business and or chasing dreams and creating goals. My son River has this book, and I forget the exact title of it, but it's about opportunities. And in the book, the opportunity is actually like a physical thing. It almost looks like a paper airplane and this creature or bird flying by, and he's talking about how he saw this opportunity but didn't take it because he was afraid of what other people would think and this and that. And one of my favorite lines in it actually talks about this idea towards the end of the book. Opportunity stopped coming to him because he stopped taking them. So the universe stopped giving him these opportunities. And then all of a sudden one big one came along and he realized, well, you know what? I am scared to take it, but my fear is temporary and my excitement is grander than my fear. And there was something really exciting to me about that line about like, and don't get me wrong, I do this all the time, doing Ninja Warrior, things like this. There's like this, or competing, there's always this fear, this temporary fear that is like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is like, it's putting my name, my career, all this stuff in front of everyone and presenting my skills, and it's like a weird feeling, but it's also very exciting, right? Like I grew up loving to compete and dreaming of traveling the world and competing and doing all these things. So at some point, you have to realize that maybe, and you might not, but maybe your excitement can outweigh the fear. And that excitement can carry you through just past the point of when the fear is going to go away. Because a lot of times, when I finish a competition, oh my God, everyone in free running shares this feeling. We all like kind of stress out about the competition, and then all of a sudden it's over and it's like, I love it, that was the best thing ever, let's go party. Everybody shares this sort of shared experience of going through the battle of dealing with their fears, emotions, the stress, and then the release of it all. And I think that's something that we could take, is recognizing that fear can be very temporary if we allow our excitement to fuel us past that milestone. So the other side, we'll go back to fail fast. I think dealing with fear is also dealing with learning to fail, and how our fears are sometimes grander than the failure that comes out of something going awry, right? We tend to build up this really crazy imaginary, like, worst case scenario about certain things that we fear, and whether that's things not working out, people looking at us a certain way, physically falling, any of these different things. But our brain has a way of like building that fear up, and it might be because it's trying to protect us. It's trying to literally save our head, or not have us get injured if we're doing something physical. Or I don't know, I feel like sometimes our natural instincts are to maintain our safe level, the mundane, right? We talked about this in a podcast just recently, but I think fear itself is something that tries to keep us from disrupting our own comfort, right? The last podcast, disrupting our comfort, is, I think it's important to tie into this, because I feel like fear tries to keep us in the comfort. We're just like, well, I'm here, I'm safe. Why would I change anything? Well, because there's so much more to do. There's so much more to see. There's so many more feelings to feel. I think one of my favorite things that was ever told to me when I was younger, I took a psychology class in high school, and my teacher was talking to me about feeling, right? And there's like this sliding scale of emotion. And if you're dating someone that you like or love, and they make you feel pretty good, well, they could also make you feel pretty bad. But if you're dating someone that you absolutely love and you feel this extreme connection to, and they resonate with this part of your soul, well, that sliding scale also means that they have the ability to break your heart and make you feel terrible if they needed something else and went a different direction and didn't connect with you in that same way. So it's important to know that if you fear something, and there's a lot of emotion behind that fear, there's a good chance that the feeling of doing it successfully is going to be twice as rewarding. And I want you to use that concept and allow that to fuel the excitement that'll take you past the point of stepping into or beyond that fear. So use your progressions, learn to fail, right? Practice failing, and then achieve your life goals. That's a lot of what it is. And I think it's that simple. I wanted to say it's that simple, but part of me was like, don't say that. That's too arrogant. But I think it is. I think if we stopped fearing failure, we stopped fearing all this stuff, man, this stuff we could achieve would be incredible. And I think we can do it. And I'm doing it, and I want you to do it. So let me know in the comments section below something that you fear that you're going to tackle, maybe this week, maybe this month, or maybe this year. But I'd be excited to know some of your goals and the things that you're stronger than, okay? If you're listening to this on any of the major podcast platforms, thank you for subscribing, leaving a review. And if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit that notification bell and give me a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Thank you guys. Peace out.